Recording for the Oral Archives at Trowbridge Museum on the 15th of March 1996. Mr Howard Whiffin, who worked in the Trowbridge Spitfire factories and around the area, talking to David Neville about his work and the development of the Spitfire and factories during the war.
Okay. The bombing, which took place on September the 22nd, 24th and 26th, 1940, caused the dispersal of the factories because of extensive bomb damage. On Friday the 27th September, Lord Beaverbrook visited the site and decided that the sites were just taken over throughout Southampton immediately, such as garages, coach stations, bus stations and units, and dispersal was on its way. Trowbridge, one of the first places to be classed as a dispersal unit, were late 1940, Rutland Garage, which was then known as Dennis's Garage, in Bradley Road, 4th Street Central Garage, which was owned by Nees, now Quick Save, both taken over and operating by November 1940. Rutland Garage produced pipes for oxygen, hydraulic and CO2 systems, fuel tanks and coolant header tanks, also produced at Rutland Garage. And 4th Street, detail manufacture, some machining and various other production was carried out. The next site commandeer was Barnes Steamroller Works at Southwick, but Mr Barnes refused to give in. Our people would move parts of the steamrollers out during the day, and Mr Barnes and his men would return at night and put them back. He felt that refurbishing old steamrollers for building airfields in the desert was helping the war effort. Eventually, after being threatened with eviction, Mr Barnes conceded and was allowed to retain about 40% of the factory floor space for his steamroller works, and the wall was built from floor to ceiling as a partition, and in March 1941 production commenced, building leading edges of Spitfire wings. They were sent to Salisbury and Reading, where the wings were completed. The next unit built was Hilperton Road, specifically for Spitfire work. It's now demolished, but was just about opposite Victoria Road and Hilperton Road. Sheet metal worker, detail and small sub-assemblies were produced. Early in 1943, Bradley Road works began, and before it was complete, jigs were in place and production was on its way. Building fuselage and wings were well underway. About this time, Laverton Cloth Mill at Westbury was taken over, and a couple of small places where engine cooling cowlings were produced. Keel was also up and running, where complete aircraft reassembled, having built, dismantled and shipped on low loaders at night to Keevil from Bradley Road. Aircraft were then completely rigged with gun alignments, set and test flown, ultimately taken for delivery to the RAF by ATA, the Air Transport Auxiliary pilots, many of whom were women, and all unarmed, of course. Most of the workers were directed labour under the Essential Works Order. I would estimate 30% came from Southampton and the rest came along the south coast from as far as Kent in the east and Cornwall in the west. This influx caused problems with accommodation, and a billeting officer was appointed, and she had power by law of direction. Most landladies cooperated and enjoyed the lodgers. Many became friends for life. Others, like yours truly, found a wife, or others a husband. Landladies found to their satisfaction, having 2, 3 or 4 lodgers at about 25 shillings per week, a great help. Trowbridge relied on woolen industry. Average pay was about £2.10 shillings or £2.50 at today's rate. Not only were they taking lodgers, some even came to work at Super being short for Supermarine Aviation Works. All production was produced by piecework based on the premium bonus system. Each operator was paid an hourly rate depending on the level of skill, and the bonus was calculated by deducting the time taken from the time allowed, which rate fixers had calculated, and the remainder was divided by 2. The operator had one half and the firm had the other half. Hours worked on days 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Mondays, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. to 6 Wednesdays, 8 p.m. to 5 Fridays and 8 to 4 on Saturdays. Hours worked on night shift 8 p.m. till 8 a.m. Sunday to Friday. Night shift received a 20% increase on the flat rate but not on the bonus. Hours could be worked to any length on Sunday by men and women. During the war, restrictions on women working overtime or night were lifted.